Thank you for joining today's webinar, AcuQuality Webinar Series on how to comply with AS9100 on QDMS and Acumatica in aerospace and defense industry. My name is Kevin Devecioglu. I'm the Managing Director of Bimser International. Today, we have a panel that will be talking about AS9100, the fundamentals of it, and we'll be also demonstrating and presenting how one can comply with AS9100 on QDMS as well as Acumatica ERP system. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you that we have a playlist and in our YouTube channel. When you go to YouTube, you can search for Bimser International, and when you click playlist, you'll have the list of webinars recorded from previous weeks so that you can watch, you can share with your contacts, you can share with your colleagues, and you can watch whenever you like, basically. So that's a great resource that we keep on YouTube available for you. Just to refresh your mind, in previous weeks, we talked about good manufacturing practices. We talked about ISO 9001, ISO 13485 in medical device industry. We talked about SQF compliance, again in QDMS and Acumatica. And last week, we talked about how to comply with good manufacturing practices, especially how to manage your facilities to comply with good manufacturing practices in pharma, medical device, and healthcare industry. We demonstrated with QDMS and Acumatica as well as BIM last week, and we also posted the recording of this webinar on our YouTube channel. For coming weeks, we have a lot of content to cover. Next week, we'll be talking about how to manage corrective actions digitally on QDMS and Acumatica together, how to comply with BRC standards, which is a food industry standard, which is very similar to SQF that we addressed a couple of weeks ago. And then we'll be talking about how to manage customer complaints, how to manage waste management, as well as how to manage supplier audits and how to evaluate suppliers to comply with various quality management systems. So that's basically our schedule for the month of June. We have a lot of content to cover, and we try to stick with Mondays as much as possible. That's why we call it Quality Mondays, just because this week we had Memorial Day. So we moved our webinar to Wednesday, but normally we meet every Monday at 2 o'clock, and we talk about QDMS, Acumatica together, and how to comply with the standards and other quality management requirements digitally. Okay, great. So today I have my colleagues with me. I have Alex Quadro from Emras Consulting. Alex has a lot of experience in ISO 9001 as well as AS9100 compliance field. So he's with us today, and he'll be talking about fundamentals of AS9100. Also, I have my colleagues, Sam and Furkan. So they'll be basically covering about QDMS and how to use QDMS with Acumatica and how to comply with AS9100 in that sense. Okay, great. So first of all, I'd like to introduce our company, and then I'll talk about QDMS, and I'll hand it over to Alex for AS9100. After that, we'll demonstrate QDMS as well as Acumatica and how one can comply AS9100 requirements in a digital environment. As Bimser International, we are an enterprise software maker. We are based in New York. In essence, we help companies simplify their processes and help them digitally transform their operations. We believe that this basically simplifies companies' operations and help them become more efficient as well as more profitable in the long run. When we look at our company and our activities, we are very active in various business communities in US. Since we have a lot of experience in quality management, American Society for Quality is one of the associations that we follow for quality management updates as well as standards and other changes in quality management community. We follow very, very closely. So that's very important for us. Also, we have an internship program called University of Bimser International. Basically, we help university students learn about how to do pre-sales and software engineering, which is nowadays we are running actually remotely. As Bimser International, we have a global presence. While we are based in New York, we are also active in Europe, as you see on the map. We are a growing organization. As a group, we are about 200 people. European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is one of our investors. So with the help and support of European Bank, we have more visibility in international markets, and we have more resources to support our partners and our customers. As Bimser, we are an Acumatica independent software vendor. We are a Microsoft Gold vendor partner. Also, we are a certified SAP vendor and MyoB ISV as well. Since we are very close to quality management community, we are also certified ourselves. We are ISO 9001 certified and ISO 271 certified. These certifications basically shows that we have policies and procedures in place, and every single time when we deploy a project, we basically have the same quality outcome. That's what it means, basically, having these quality management certifications. Since we are an Acumatica ISV, we are very close to Acumatica ecosystem. We have been sponsoring various Acumatica events in 2018, 2019, as well as this year in 2020. We had a chance to be in the Acumatica Summit. Also, we sponsored Acumatica Summit in Asia this year. So that was a great opportunity for us, great privilege, and we are looking forward to furthering our relationship in Acumatica ecosystem. We have 3 products available in Acumatica marketplace. We have QDMS, that is the one we'll talk more about today. We have BIM for asset and maintenance management. It also has fleet management and facility management capabilities. And we have contract management solution for Acumatica. So these 3 solutions are available, and we keep recertify them for new Acumatica versions as well. So they are up to date, and we keep investing in them regularly. Since 1998, we focus on these 4 products: IBA as a workflow and document management system, BIM as an asset management system, QDMS as quality management system, Ensemble as a business modeling and performance management software. So these 4 products are our core products. In bottom, you can see contract management and ITSM solutions. We built them on IBA platform, since IBA is an electronic business automation platform. Ensemble is a managerial tool, as you see on the slide. Other products of ours, IBA, BIM, and QDMS, they are designed to automate processes. And the way that we actually put together our products actually is they are designed to run standalone. They can be linked to each other, and we integrate them to any ERP, any CRM solution available in the marketplace. And we have also mobile apps available. Our products, they are web-based. They run on cloud. They also run on on-premise servers. Since we have a lot of experience in quality management, when you look at QDMS, we have more than 1,000 active customers using QDMS, and we have more than 1 million professional users. So since 1998, we managed to have a lot of references as well as a lot of experience in various management systems. Since we are coming from enterprise market, we have a lot of enterprise level customers available in our reference list. We are working with 3M, we are working with Bridgestone, we are working with Ford, for example. We work with Pledis, Renault, Nissan, Alliance are some of them. So in last couple of years, we also started to serve mid-market. Since we are coming from enterprise market and our products are scalable for customers, growing customers in mid-market, looking for scale, looking for capabilities to grow with, our products are great for them. That's what it means to be coming from enterprise market, and we are very happy to have many different references in mid-market in this sense. Since we'll be talking about aerospace industry, I also put together some of our references in aerospace industry. We work with Lise Aerospace, we work with Pratt & Whitney, for example. They use QDMS as well as BIM for managing their quality management systems, managing their maintenance and asset management operations, and also for compliance, which is very important because aerospace is a heavily regulated industry. There are a lot of safety requirements, and Alex will be sharing a lot of information with us today on this as well. Okay, great. So that's basically who we are and what we do as Bimser International. Now I'd like to invite Alex Kvartarov from Emras Consulting. Alex, are you ready?
Okay. Yes. I think I was muted. So.
Okay, great. Thank you, Alex.
Yes. Thank you very much, Kevin. Yes. Thank you very much, Kevin, for inviting me to make this presentation, and thank you for joining this webinar. And so I will give a very, very quick overview of AS9100 today. Obviously, there's a lot to it, so I will basically just cover the surface, but at least it'll give you an idea of what the requirements are. So a little bit before I start, a little bit about AMROS Consulting. Personally, I'm the sole proprietor of AMROS Consulting, and I am a certified ISO 9001-2015 lead auditor. Now, I established AMROS in 2015 after having a long career as a project manager in a large aerospace company, which was certified to AS9100. So what I currently do is I provide consulting services and training as well for businesses to achieve and maintain ISO certification. So I don't do the actual approval of the certification, but I prepare the company to be ready for the first audit with an auditor. And back in 2018, I came across Bimser International, and I became a solutions partner because I found that the tools that Bimser provides, especially QDMS for the ISO environment, is excellent, and it really makes life a lot easier for the organization that is trying to get certification and also to maintain certification as well. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, a little bit of an introduction to AS9100. The latest version, Rev D, was released by the International Aerospace Quality Group, IAQG, in September of 2015. And the IAG is an international nonprofit organization located in Brussels. Okay, and it consists of various industries, aerospace and defense industries, from 3 sectors: the Americas, Asia Pacific, and Europe. Now, the AS9100 is specifically intended for the aviation, space, and defense organizations. Okay, so as I'll talk later, it is really based on ISO 9000, but if you're in that business, then you really should be going for the AS9100 certification. Now, the members of the IAQG were also involved. They had representatives in the ISO, when the ISO, this was the technical committee that was working on ISO 9001-15, so they had their representative there, so that what happened, and this was a very important aspect, is that AS9100 is really based on ISO 9001, and I'll show where the differences are, but the core of it is the same. Okay, so as I pointed out, about 80% of AS9100 is really identical to ISO. But the 20% additional requirements are listed here, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of them, but there are some very specific requirements which are intended to satisfy the aerospace industry. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now ISO, or AS9100, is really based on the quality management system, QMS. And what is it? Okay. Well, it's a set of documentation that includes, very important, is to have processes, and processes that are integrated with each other. Okay, so it has to have specific processes, procedures, policies, and records. Now, all of that is, all of this documentation really applies to your business, specifically to your business. And they kind of define the rules, how your business operates and how you develop your products or services. Now, a QMS is really designed around specific requirements. And it has principles, there's 7 principles that have to be followed, okay, to maintain this quality management system. One is obviously customer focus. So you want to make the customer happy with the products or services that you deliver. Leadership. Leadership has to be involved in the process, in the ISO process. And as well as the people. The people have to be engaged at all levels. And as I mentioned before, it is based on processes, and those processes they all have to be fully integrated to make it a very efficient operation. Another key aspect of ISO is continuous improvement. You're never perfect. There's always room for improvement, and there are always new tools that become available, new techniques, new approaches. So all of that has to be evaluated to make your process more efficient, and obviously keeping in mind making the customer happier by delivering on time and within the specification. So the other aspect is the decisions that are made throughout the organization has to be based on evidence, not making haphazard guesses as to what improvements to make, but making decisions which is based on data that has been acquired as part of implementing your processes. And finally, the last principle is relationship management. So what it means is basically management has not only to focus on the running the business internally, but also how to integrate all of the external forces, namely the customers, the interested parties, the regulatory organization. So all of that has to be integrated into the management process. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and very important is ISO as well as AS9100 is based on the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, which has been developed by Deming. And it's a very simple process to visualize, and the diagram shows how the process works. On the right side, I've listed the clauses from ISO 9000 and AS9100. And as I mentioned before, they are identical. I left out the first 3 because they're basically an introduction, definition, and so on. But the real meat of the material starts with clause 4, and they go through 10. Okay. Now, if you look at the diagram, I identified the numbers that appear throughout the diagram. It really references the clause number. Okay, and the process starts on the left side, which is really the inputs from the customer requirements, as well as obviously the organization and the context and the interested parties. So they feed into the planning cycle, which is then when the plans are determined, set up, then you do these operation, which is really your manufacturing or your design, development, manufacturing, as well as the resources, number 7, which are needed to effectively perform the operation. Then on number 9, which is performance evaluation, you evaluate the results of your product and service, and you look and see where you have defects. You also have inputs from customers, and then you analyze that and you go to improvements, and then you look at where can you make improvements, and you just kind of stay in that circle. And in fact, you can have multiple circles being implemented at the same time. So next slide, please. So what are the benefits of, and this really applies to both ISO 9000 and AS9100. Well, obviously you want to produce safe and reliable products. Okay, that's obviously the most important thing, which will have a satisfied customer. And not only do you have to meet the requirements of the customer specification, but you also have to meet the regulatory requirements. And that, of course, depends on the industry, but if it's in the aerospace industry, obviously there's a lot of those requirements. As I mentioned before, processes are the key to running your business efficiently, and this is how it's really managed from a day-to-day operation. And at a higher level, the improved integration and with the business strategy is very important, because all of that flows up and down within the organization. Obviously, documentation is very important because this is how the product or services is performed, and so keeping the documentation up to date is obviously very critical. Supply chain, okay, is very important, because this is material or parts that you're getting from external sources. You have to make sure that they meet standards. And obviously, you have to satisfy the stakeholders and the interested parties. The AS9100 does not require a lot of documents. They require more than the ISO. But again, the focus is on what documents are specifically required to run your business efficiently. And obviously, AS9100 is recognized by a lot of regulatory authorities. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is just a very brief kind of summary of the changes or the additional requirements that are imposed on AS9100 as compared to ISO 9001. And if you can see, maybe you know, the additional requirements are in the blue color, so maybe it doesn't show up that well on the screen, but I'll just go over that quickly. If you look at starting with clause 1 and clause 2, there's no changes. In clause 3, AS9100 added the definition of product safety and counterfeit. That's a big issue, certainly in the aerospace environment, dealing with counterfeit parts. Okay. Clause 4, there's an additional requirement for a quality manual. ISO 9001 does not require for you to have a quality manual. Okay, clause 5 doesn't have any changes, nothing for clause 6. Okay, clause 7 has an additional requirement on product safety, conformity, and ethical behavior. Well, that's obviously understandable why that's a requirement. Now, clause 8 has a few additional requirements. One is product obsolescence, and that is a very important part of your development process, because used to be that once you use military components, they were there, they were available for the life of the product. But nowadays, you can use extended temperature commercial parts, and they come and go. I mean, there's never any guarantee that they're going to be available for the life of the product. And typically, if you're dealing with military or aerospace, it's the life of a product is about 20 years. So what happens is you have to deal with obsolescence. Either it's a part and you have to monitor when parts become obsolete, or when there's a notice that the part will become obsolescent. So you have to then either do a lifetime buy and buy enough parts to support the product for the rest of its life, or sometimes you have to do is actually look for an alternate part, and then you have to then redesign a part of the circuit and maybe have to requalify it. Okay, so then the other issues obviously is product safety. Counterfeit parts, unfortunately, there's sometimes you get counterfeit parts which appear to be and look like the authentic part, but they're not. Okay, and they could really create a lot of problems in the field. And then there's a requirement to validate test reports as more rigorous testing and validation of the testing is a requirement. Okay, and basically those are the key additional requirements to AS9100. All right, next slide, please. Okay, very briefly is, well, how do you achieve AS9100 certification? What kind of milestones do you have to achieve? First is you have to implement your QMS based on the requirements of AS9100, and you have to operate it for a period of time. It's not like you established all your documents and processes and say, okay, I'm ready. No, you have to actually show that it's working. Then you have to select a registrar. Registrar is an organization that is certified to provide, to perform the audit and then give you the certification. Before you do that, before you actually call in the registrar, you have to do an internal audit and make sure that all of your requirements comply with QMS. And management has to conduct a review of the processes. And then you have to show that you have applied corrective action to correct any problems that has been identified. Once you have this whole system working, then you can call in the certification body, registrar, for a stage 1 audit, which is basically more of a documentation review. And then when that is successfully passed, a few weeks or months after that, then the stage 2 audit would be performed, which is a much more thorough review of not just your documents, but the actual processes that are being implemented. And I just want to point out that recently, during this pandemic environment, it has been determined that the audits could be performed virtually. In other words, with the auditor being located at his place. And certainly phase 1 can be done that way. Phase 2 or stage 2, most of it could be done virtually. Maybe there is some specific evaluations that have to be done on site, but at least a lot of it can be done remotely. Obviously, you have to have the proper tools to support that, but it is doable. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, to maintain the certification, you have to continue whatever QMS system you've established. You have to continue to maintain it. train your staff. You have to perform internal audits at least yearly. Okay, internal audits could be done by your own people or could be done by an external organization. The management must perform also regular meetings to verify the effectiveness of the QMS process. The documents have to be maintained, and they have to be at the latest version. All the records that you collect from all your processes have to be maintained and be made available. And then a surveillance audit with the registrar has to be performed on a yearly basis. Okay, next slide. Okay, and that leads to really my introduction to QDMS, which there will be some more detailed demonstrations. But the point is that QDMS really supports all of the ISO or AS9100 activities. And it really provides all the requirements, how to manage your data. All of it is become really very available. And you don't rely on individuals who could or could not maintain the records, or could not find the records. Where are they stored? Where are they maintained? Everything is now stored on central repositories, and it's scalable. So you don't need to have all of the modules to help in your conducting your business, but you select what modules you need to run more efficiently. And as Kevin mentioned before, it's operating both on cloud or on a local server, and is therefore available to be used on either with iOS or Android. And again, the tool has a lot of positive references from international corporations and now from even companies within the U.S. So that is basically all the presentation. And thank you very much for the opportunity. And then I guess we'll move on for a more detailed presentation of the tool.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for introductions and fundamentals of AS9100. Much appreciated. Very informative. Thank you for your insight. Okay, great. So let's move on to our schedule as planned. I'd like to talk about a little bit about how we look at digital transformation of quality management. And I'll share some information about QDMS, and I'll hand it over to Sam, and we'll be talking about QDMS as well as Acumatica and how we can actually help companies comply with different standards digitally in both systems, QDMS and Acumatica. So let's talk about digital transformation of quality management a little bit, how we are looking at it. So, of course, there are challenges for companies to maintain and comply with various standards, maybe AS9100, maybe ISO 9001, maybe SQF and other standards, basically. So thanks to digital age, we can make things easy for them with our products. It's easier to maintain documentation, policies, procedures nowadays, thanks to digital age, and all the updates and audits can be done automatically. Also, corrective actions can be managed easily in this digital age. These are great advantages nowadays. And the way that we look at it is based on this framework. We call it proactive management framework. So it has 3 pillars: assurance, control, and predict. Assurance is basically your quality management system. That may be ISO 9001. There may be AS9100 for aerospace and defense industry, for example. And assurance dictates the control piece, how you're going to do the controls. Let's also remember, quality management systems not only designed for manufacturing, they also affect your administrative operations. So you may want to have controls in your marketing operations, purchasing perhaps, Also manufacturing, of course, before manufacturing, after manufacturing, and you can basically document it and manage it for continuous improvement. And the last piece is predict. It basically touches the IoT devices, smart sensors for remote monitoring machinery and equipment, for example, for temperature, humidity. For machinery, for example, we can talk about vibrations in addition to temperature. So you can basically remotely monitor all these, and you can manage these activities together. That's how we are looking at it from the point of proactive management framework. And that's how we actually design our products to help companies manage their proactive framework, management framework, basically with QDMS as well as EBA and BEAM for maintenance, as well as electronic business automation platform. When we look at QDMS, to be more specific, that's our quality risk audit and compliance management software. As I mentioned earlier, it has been in the market since 1998. We have more than 1,000 customers and more than 1 million professional users available. So we have great references and experience in this field. Also, as I mentioned earlier, that's a Acumatica certified solution and available in Acumatica's marketplace. When we look at QDMS, thanks to its modern technology with web service APIs, it is ready to integrate with IoT devices, manufacturing execution systems, CRMs, and Acumatica ERP it's already integrated. So with this model, basically, a company can easily manage operations and automate it, basically. If there is any irregularity in the data coming from IoT devices, temperature is not how it is supposed to be, vibration is not how it is supposed to be, QDMS can help you manage your corrective actions as well as your maintenance operations as well, actually, in the in digital environment. QDMS is designed to help companies comply with many different standards. There may be AS9100, there may be BRC, there may be SQF, and some of our customers comply in more than one quality management systems for regulations. So you can manage more than one quality management systems in QDMS. System is web-based, so once we deploy it, you can access it from anywhere in the world. Basically, you may be traveling, you may be working from home remotely. That is not a problem, and you can access your data. Since QDMS is very user-friendly, once we train the quality management team, they manage the entire system. There is no other consultant needed or IT department support needed. They can just run it. Quality management department runs it themselves, which is very, very practical. And system runs on cloud as well as on-premise servers, and makes things very easy for quality management purposes. QDMS is modular. What it means is companies can pick and choose what module they like. There is no minimum requirement, simply. And also, let's remember that sometimes companies may be complying with different standards. While we have more than 30 modules, you may not need 30 modules, depends on what you are complying with. So when we look at, for example, just like Alex mentioned earlier, so document management, control document management is very, very important for compliance purposes, and we have that module available for policies, procedures, SOPs, and other documentation to manage versioning as well as keeping the team members posted. You can manage customer complaints, internal and external customer complaints, and you can link them to corrective actions. They're also called CAPA. So you can manage your CAPA accordingly, and you can run your audits. As Alex mentioned earlier, same with AS9100 in aerospace industry, same with ISO 9001. Audit is very important. Companies need to run their audits at least once in a year internally. And then you can also audit your suppliers, your dealers, for example, and they can all be managed and documented in the system. One of the important things is a survey module. So in the survey module, one can manage surveys, conduct surveys. Also, it is possible to conduct employee tests, by the way. So you can use it for different purposes. It is also ready to be used for supplier evaluation, which is also very important as part of AS9100 for safety purposes. So these are some of the modules that I put together on the screen. One last thing that I like to mention is risk management. Well, especially nowadays, we are facing a pandemic, and we don't know what's going to be and how it's going to be. So there are a lot of risk involved. So for business management, also for compliance, risk management is and assessment is very important. Keeping in mind, we have different risk management modules available: process risk management module, IT risk management, health and safety risk management. We also have a module called Aerospace risk management module. So these modules basically help you put together your risk, assess your risks with your team members. For example, you can sort them, you can decide the severity, and you can put together contingency plans. So that basically helps you prepare your team members for possible risks that may happen. So that's something that I like to share on this part. Okay, great. So we talk about AS9100, we talk about our company Bimser International, and we also talk about QDMS on a high level. Now I'd like to invite Sam Watt from our pre-sales software engineering team. Sam put together a demonstration, and he likes to share it with you. We like to show how QDMS actually can help you manage your AS9100 requirements. I believe today we'll be focusing more on the control document management as well as calibration and maintenance management part of the operations. And then we'll also show how actually QDMS is interacting with Acumatica as well. Sam, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, great. Please take over the screen when ready.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it looks great.
Okay, nice.
So
cool.
Okay, great. Please continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Alex. So, thank you for joining this webinar, and this is Sam at Bimser International. Today, I will talk about QDMS and how it integrates with Acumatica as well. So after you log into Acumatica, you can find our package for complying with AS9100. So you can get into this tile and connect to QDMS. And QDMS will work in the same screen of Acumatica, and which means you don't have to switch between the tapes or the different browser for managing Acumatica and QDMS, since QDMS is perfectly integrated with Acumatica. So right here, this is the home screen after you log into QDMS. Get bigger. And all the pending tasks and requests for approval will be shown in the home screen of QDMS, our quality, risk, audit, and compliance management system. On the top left, this is the main menu of QDMS. QDMS is a permission-based system, which means not everyone can see everything in QDMS. But now, since I'm logging in as the administrator, which you can tell from the top right, this is my username. So I have the full control of QDMS, and I can see all the modules in QDMS as well. As Kevin mentioned in his presentation, a QDMS is a modular system, which means you can pick and choose the module that you want to have, and those will be shown in this main menu. Today, we will cover the control document management module and also the calibration module. In the control document management module, you can upload a new document, you can read your document, you can revise, and also manage your folder structure in this module. So first of all, let's see how we can read our document. To QDMS, on your left, you can see the folder structure right here, and it will show you the subfolder and also document that you upload in the system on your right, as you can see on your screen. So these are the subfolder, or we can find our document. And our QDMS support different file type, for example, like procedure, specifications, SOP, and so on in the system. And how you gonna to how you're gonna read it is you just simply click the document code or the name, and then it will be shown in the built-in browser of QDMS. And QDMS also support different file format. For example, like Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF, image, MP4 or MP3, or images. And now this is the document that we have in QDMS. And you can find also the document info, the permission matrix, like the permission, what permission that we grant to different users based on their role or their group, department, and so on. And the permission will be like reading the document, printing it, revising it, or getting back to the previous version. Under the distribution tab, you can see which users or which group has the obligation to read this document once it is updated or uploaded. You can also find the approval flow for this document as well. If you got any questions or you find something wrong with your document, you can contact with the creator or the approver by reading this approval tab. And at last, I want to show you is the audit trail. All the activities or action that the users carry out in the system will be recorded in log of QDMS. So right here, you can see who did what on what day in the system for this particular document. So you can see if, for example, like Sam has to read this document or this policy of our company every single day after he logged in, so that you can tell from this history tape and see if Sam logged into the system and read this document based on the company policy. And also in this module, you can upload a new document so that you can pick and choose which folder you want to put your new document. So for example, I can highlight this procedure folder. And after that, I can grant a new and unique document code for the new document. Also, while you're uploading or revising your document, you can manage the permission of this document for different users based on their role, their position, profession, group, and also department. The permission that you can manage is like reading, printing, revising, coming back to the previous version, or deleting this document. Also, distribution and approval matrix, you can also manage those while you're uploading or revising your document. After that, you can find this training tape here as well. So you can assign someone as the trainer for your document. In order to comply with AS9100, there is some regulation or standard or policy that you have to carry out certain training for the users or for the employee in your company. So therefore, you can define the trainer for this document. For example, like this is a policy. And then you can make sure all the employee in your company have an idea or to be familiar with this policy for complying with AS9100. After that, we can document from our local drive. So you can pick and choose from your local drive, like your desktop or C drive, and so on. into QDMS for complying with AS9100. Furthermore, you can manage your folder structure in QDMS as well. So this is one of my folder named as procedure. So I can add a new subfolder under this folder, under the folder procedure, or I can get rid of it and create a parent folder. You can grant a name and also the code for your folder and create an automatic document code template. So this is my example is like a BIM dash hashtag and set up the counter, which means the next document that you upload in this folder will have the code as BIM dash 001. The system will increment your code automatically. In addition, you can also define the default of our permission matrix, distribution matrix, and approval matrix for this folder, which means when you upload a new document in this folder, it will automatically apply to this default matrix for permission, distribution, and approval. You don't have to manage all the matrix of your document one by one, document by document, and instead it will automatically apply to the default settings that you have defined for this folder. And in the module of QDMS, you can find the reporting tool, which allows you to create different ready-made report that we prepare. For example, like the document status report. And on your left, you can create or define the condition for your report, like what you want to see as the status of your document in this report, and also the creation date. After that, you can make a search, and those documents in the status in revision will be shown in this list, since this is how we set this up as the condition of my report. Now the status or the in revision status documents will be shown, and here's what we get in our report. And next, I want to show you is the calibration module, as known as device management system module in QDMS. In this module, you can define your device, for example, like your manufacturing machine. Since you're in the aerospace and also the defense industry, the product or the parts for this industry or your customer in aerospace and defense industry. So right here, we can define our device, for example, like our manufacturing machine, and we can show this on the screen. So you can also enter the model and also the serial number and the device responsible person. And after that, your device will be recorded in QDMS. And since we have your device and you want to carry out to your calibration module, calibration action, for example, like adjusting the reading of your machine or equipment, or having a preventive maintenance to your machinery, then we can come here to the calibration module or the device management module and fulfill an operation. So you can add a new one and pick and choose the operation type. So that is about preventive maintenance or refilling the fuel or reading the meters. So we can manage right here and add the device After that, we can pick and choose the responsible person. Like myself, I'm going to pick and choose myself. And anytime, you're more than welcome to use the search bar provided on the top. And also the location. After that, we can send this, and this calibration request will be sent to this particular responsible users, and he or she can carry out the calibration or the maintenance activities with using this calibration module. And also in this module, you can find the reporting tool that helps you to have an overview of all the calibration activities that you schedule. You can export this report as Excel or PDF for sharing with any responsible parties. And also, this module helps you to keep your machinery and equipment at the best condition. And in QDMS, we integrate also the employee, customer, vendor, and our product information with Acumatica, but not limited. We can integrate QDMS with any fields that you can see in Acumatica. So for example, like employees. So these are the employees that we integrate with Acumatica, for example, like Michael and Maxwell. So coming back to the search bar in Acumatica, so we can find the exact same data that you can see in Acumatica, like Michael, Maxwell, and so on in Acumatica. And we have the package to help you to manage QDMS and Acumatica on the same page. And next, I want to share with you is the inspection report and inspection form for AS9100 in QDMS. So right here, you can see we digitize those forms for complying with AS9100. This is one of the report or digitized form that we put together on our platform or our product, which is AS1130-2, the first article inspection report. And you can pick and choose the part name, which we integrate with Acumatica again. And you can pick and choose from a drop-down list. And after that, you can choose the item name from a list. So this is our list, and we can pick and choose it. And the rest of the information will be filled automatically, like the limit, the upper limit, and also the lower limit. After that, we can send it and put this into our workflow that we digitize in QDMS. So let me make it bigger, larger. And different workflow can be digitized for different form or business process in QDMS. And anytime you can retrieve the data that you enter previously. So now you will see a report or a log in QDMS, and you can retrieve back the data that you entered previously, or like months ago, a week ago. Give me 1 second. Let me go to the Aviation and go to history. And there we go. So now we can have our all the record that we have in the system, and we can retrieve it. For example, this is the one we filed on July 23rd, 2019. So you can retrieve it back and see what is the result for this inspection. And it's helped you to comply with AS9100 because you can make sure all the limits or the result of your inspection is between the upper limit and lower limit that you set up in this digitized business process. Thank you for joining this webinar, and this is the end of my demonstration. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Sam. Much appreciated for the demonstration. So let's look at some questions that we have been receiving. We've been receiving various questions in the chat box, and we'd like to address them. So one of the questions is looks like for you, Alex. What are the most common challenges in aerospace industry when complying with AS9100?
It's a good question. If you're going for AS9100 certification, some organizations may want to go for ISO 9000 first, because it's like one step, and then once you achieve that certification, you may want to go for the AS9100. And as I mentioned to you, one of the challenges is to dealing with the additional requirements. And if you're a manufacturer, you have to obviously address the issue, like I mentioned, of parts obsolescence, counterfeit parts, which is a very important part of AS9100. And then I think the additional requirements of dealing with product safety additional testing requirements. So for AS9100, you have to validate your test, which is an additional effort that you have to come up with. So I think those are the challenges, and obviously then you before you actually go for certification, you have to really be ready, and then you have to demonstrate all of your policies, procedures, and how you're implementing QMS to the registrar. So I think those are the most important aspects of or difficulties of challenges of certification.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, that's also what I observed. There are a lot of similarities with ISO 9001, but because of the field, the aerospace, aviation industry, there are additional safety-related requirements. That's what I have seen. So that is one of the actually forms that Sam demonstrated as to AS9100 first article inspection form, which is a requirement in AS9100. So it is important to be able to actually fill it and process it digitally, and you can actually keep that record in a digital environment instead of paper. We've seen some companies try to manage these on paper. After a while, it becomes really unmanageable because you may be audited, inspected, then it's going to be difficult to pull all the documentation and archives and present it to the auditor when it's time for certification or recertification. Okay, great. So let's see what other questions we have. So one of the questions about mobile app, is there any mobile app available to manage quality management system as well as forms related to it? Sam, you would like to address that?
Oh, yes, please. That's a very nice question. So yes, we have the mobile application for QDMS. So it is available for Android and iOS device. You can download it on Google Play Store or the App Store for iOS device. So anytime after downloading it, you can connect to the server or our product with the particular address of your server, and you can manage QDMS anytime and anywhere on your handheld device, like your smartphone and tablet. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. We have multiple locations. Do we need multiple deployments, or one deployment is enough? I think I can address that. One deployment is enough. So as for QDMS, our quality risk and audit and compliance management software, we can deploy it on your cloud account. We can deploy it on your on-premise server. Once we deploy it, you can access the same system that we deployed from anywhere, basically, with a web browser, just like connecting in our system. That is also in line with Acumatica as well. That's also a very modern product. So QDMS and Acumatica, they go very well together. Very modern technologies. The API is available for connections, and you can connect from anywhere, basically. So that's a great combination. So in that sense, it's ideal for companies with multiple locations. If you don't have multiple locations, then you can enjoy these benefits when you are actually traveling, or just like nowadays, most of us are actually experiencing. If you are working remotely from home or from other place other than your office, that is actually very practical to have this web-based infrastructure ready for your company. So that also addressed the other question: does it work on cloud or on-premise servers? So the answer is it works on both. QDMS works on cloud, it works on-premise servers. It also works hybrid, by the way. So if you like to run the system on both environments for different purposes, we have seen it in different companies by the different IT policies. QDMS is ready for it as well. You can have it on cloud, on-premise server, as well as hybrid, especially aerospace industry. Some of our customers we have seen they feel more secure if they have it on their on-premise server. We see it. So if that's the case, then we can deploy it on customers' on-premise server, and they can run it from there. And again, they can still connect the system from anywhere. So it is that option is always on the table. One of the questions that actually I mentioned earlier, but I'm glad that actually I'm having this. So we have more than one quality management requirements. Can I use it in one QDMS, or do I have to have multiple QDMS versions? So what happens is you can have QDMS just once. We can deploy it, and then you can manage more than one quality management system. So you may have AS9100, you may have at the same time ISO, or you may have other systems, for example. There are many different requirements in aerospace and defense industry, as we know it, especially if you're a defense contractor. There may be other requirements that you may need to be following and complying with. So all these basically can be managed on QDMS. So one deployment is enough. The way that we basically configure the system for you is going to be based on your quality management systems. Maybe AS9100, maybe ISO 9001, maybe you are complying with some other standards based on your customers and the requirements. So one deployment is enough, and you can comply more than one systems with the help of QDMS in a digital environment. Okay, great. I think I addressed all the questions. There is a question about pricing and licensing. So we can take this conversation offline, I think. So we keep our contact information on the screen. I can address all the pricing and licensing related questions via email, or we can have a one-to-one session. We are keeping our contact information on the screen. Our email address is on the screen. So if you have any questions, if you'd like to continue this conversation, you can contact us, and we can schedule a one-to-one meeting so that we can be more focused on your challenges and your questions. Basically, we are definitely looking forward to it. Great. So before we end our webinar session, I'd like to remind you our YouTube channel. You can visit YouTube, and you can search for Bimser International. There is a playlist there where you can actually access our webinar recordings from previous weeks, especially for those for QDMS and Acumatica. And you can also access other recordings that we have for product introductions and other webinar sessions that we have available on YouTube for you and for your contacts as well as your colleagues. Feel free to watch and share, and we welcome it. That can be a great resource for you to get the latest information from our company and the quality management systems as well. Next week, we'll be talking about how to manage corrective actions digitally. So when we say corrective actions, this is actually very important for many different quality management systems. We see corrective actions in, just like we just talked about with Alex. We see it in aerospace industry with AS9100. We see it with ISO, SQF, and BRC. That is, they also have corrective action requirements, which is very, very important for companies to have continuous improvement. Also, we even see corrective actions in construction industry. They have various requirements, for example, based on, for example, AIST is one of the organizations that we follow closely. So they also require corrective action. So the way to have continuous improvement is to document it. And one of the ways to do it is actually corrective actions. That's why it's very common, very important. So we'll be addressing that next week. And then the following weeks, we'll be talking about BRC as well as customer complaints. So we encourage you, we invite you to visit our Eventbrite page, just like you registered for this webinar. Please register for our coming webinar sessions so that you can continue to see what is new in QDMS, how it is working with Acumatica, and we can definitely address your questions. In the bottom, we are keeping our contact information on the screen. So if you have questions, please feel free to email us. Also, we can visit our website to have more information. I'd like to thank you for your time and thank you for your interest. We look forward to seeing you next week, next Monday, Monday at 2 o'clock. We'll be talking about how to manage corrective actions digitally on QDMS as well as Acumatica when these two systems are interacting. And we'll continue our journey in digital transformation of quality management. Thank you very much and have a nice day.